Yeah, so Bobby King Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Once again, a lot of things that can be said about Molly McCann can be said about Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett, very poor defensive striking. Every aspect about his striking defense is absolutely atrocious. There's an entire highlight video on YouTube called Paddy Pimblett being pieced up by unranked fighters or something along those lines. It's not a meme. It is 100% legitimate, unfortunately. But once again, like Molly McCann, pretty decent grappling, some impressive grappling finishes that he has on his record. Bobby King Green, since he legally changed it to King Green now, he is primarily a striker. He is not going to grapple. I know you're going to probably talk about the Tony Ferguson chokeout that he did. That was set up by his striking, and it was just something that was there that he just decided to snatch up because the opportunity presented itself. He didn't go out of his way to look for it, type thing. Just an anomaly. But yeah, he's a striker, very weird, very hands down, primarily boxing style that he uses. A lot of taunts, a lot of trash talking, that type of thing. Does have some good power. Uh, I was shocked last October when he knocked out Grant Dawson with like the touch of death. It did not look like it should have just destroyed Grant Dawson like it did. And I'm a very huge Grant Dawson fan, still am. Broke my heart. Just bizarre that he was able to do that. Pretty much dismantled Jim Miller. I picked against him on that. Had egg on my face. Just bloodied up Jim Miller. Just tooled him. Lost to Drew Dober. No shame there. Dober does have power. Lost to Makhachev. No shame there. He's really good at taking out like guys that are kind of overrated, like Nasrat Haqparast. That guy's been overrated for a while. Destroyed him. Ali Quinta's the king of overrated fucking fighters based off what he did to Kevin Lee twice, which was barely beat him. And he just absolutely demolished Ali Quinta in the first round. No shame to losing to Fiziev. No shame to losing to Moises. Just been around for a very long time in the UFC since, gosh, counting Strikeforce, since that was purchased by the UFC. 2011. So he's one of those guys that's going to probably be retiring here very soon. So he's a fighter that every Bobby King Green fight you come across, you better enjoy it live while you have the chance because you never know when it could be your last one. But all that to say, to kind of cut to the chase here, as much as I want to pick Bobby King Green, Paddy Pimblett just continues to get handpicked fights for the English crowd. He's still milking and squeezing out that hype himself. But there's just nothing special about him anymore. And that's why they're not ever going to give him a step up more than these guys right here. Like Luigi Vendramini in his debut. Is that guy even still in the UFC? You tell me. Rodrigo Vargas, Jordan Levitt, Jared Gordon, he lost, arguably, to many, many people, myself included, lost that fight in one of the most egregious robberies of the past probably 5-6 years. And then beating up Tony Ferguson, like, come on now. And even in that fight, Tony Ferguson, at this advanced stage of decline that he's on, was putting up a pretty decent fight against Paddy Pimblett because of how terrible his striking is. Offensively, defensively, everything about it is just bad. The best thing Paddy Pimblett has going for him, and I try to like him and I respect like his old, like, men can talk about mental health thing. I get that. That's awesome. That's great. But I'm here to talk about fights. I'm here to analyze who I think is going to win fights, not who I think is, instead of the baddest motherfucker, as somebody called it, the nicest motherfucker championship. I'm not here to determine that. So I would love to pick Bobby Green, but I just can't because Paddy Pimblett is also the king of winning fights. He has no business, like pulling off the Jared Gordon robbery. There was somebody in Cage Warriors, I forget who it was in Cage Warriors, that was just beating his ass. And then, oh my God, all of a sudden he got like a triangle armbar. I think that was like Conrad Hayes it was or somebody. No, Dougie Scott, because it was a flying triangle, I think. Either way, he just pulls things out of his ass. I don't know if he's the most talented man in MMA like he's portrayed to be and like the hype machine would have you believe, but he's definitely the most lucky man in MMA to just win fights all the damn time. But yeah, I am pretty oh, wow, this has changed. This is a new development. So actually, this makes me more confident about this pick. Bobby Green is minus 120. Paddy Pimblett's now plus 100. Before, like a few hours ago when I checked this, it was like minus 112 Bobby and like minus 106 or some shit for Paddy. So now Paddy's at plus money. So now I'm definitely all over Paddy money line because the only route that Bobby Green has to victory is a very possible route. It's definitely plausible, but I just don't think it's going to happen because so many people have the striking advantage over Paddy Pimblett. And once again, he just still wins. He just still somehow pulls it off. And if I'm getting him at plus 100, I'm definitely taking it. I'm definitely taking it in another cherry picked matchup because this could also be a situation where if he decides to grapple, or it's like that Dougie Scott or whatever his name was, and like Bobby is piecing him up, but he like goes to his back and Bobby follows him and thinks he's just going to keep top position. Paddy could easily lock up a sub from his back. That is one good thing I will say about Paddy Pimblett. He does have a good guard. He has a good off of his back. That's very rare for a BJJ guy nowadays in MMA to be active off their back and to actively try to sub or sweep or get back to their feet. So for all the negative, I got to point out that I am very impressed by that. And I'm actually going to go just Paddy money line though, because I don't know if I'm brave enough to do sub because Bobby's not the grappler, so anything initiated by sub and by grappling is going to be Paddy, not Bobby. And then striking, once again, that could go either way. Just because he's getting pieced up on the feet doesn't mean anything. And even if it makes it to decision, it was very egregious with Jared Gordon. He could easily win another decision he probably doesn't deserve. But for now, at the moment, I'm just going to go Paddy money line. What do you think, Ben?
This was the hardest fight for me because of a couple factors. I am also going to be on the Paddy money line because we're getting it at plus money. You get all three methods, and you get the guy with the home crowd. So if it does go to decision, we have a chance of some home cooking that we see happen over in Europe. Unfortunately, too often. Paddy never been knocked out before, and we've seen Bobby be pretty much a glass cannon. He either knocks you out or he gets knocked out pretty easily himself. He mostly wants to stand, whereas Paddy, he's going to want to take it to the mat. He's going to want to grapple you. Good takedowns, and he's good takedown defense, which he's not going to use this fight. But Paddy also has, like you said, that good sub work. My concern is that Paddy keeps his chin up and Bobby catches him. Just because Paddy hasn't been knocked out yet doesn't mean he can't be knocked out. And 69% of the bets are on Paddy and 88% of the money. So everybody, like you said, Paddy's big name. Everybody knows Paddy. They see Bobby Green as he's like so much older. Paddy's this big name. You get him at plus money. Everybody's pouring money in on it. And I'm just really worried that that's exactly what Vegas wants. And Bobby Green gets that knockout, which right now Bobby Green knockouts at plus 400. I just don't. This is the one that I think when you look back, if we're wrong, we're like Vegas like had this one booked to a T, which they do unfortunately way too often. I think I have to be with you. Like you said, if it goes to decision, hopefully, you get the extra factor that Paddy's in England, but this fight really, really concerns me.
Yeah, it's concerning, but if it goes to decision, like I said, we've seen an egregious robbery that he managed to secure. And I'm about to look up now if that was even in England when he robbed Jared. But yeah, if it goes to decision, he's 100% going to get the nod from some home cooking, as you mentioned. If it goes to sub, it's 100% going to be him. Yeah, the only chance that Bobby Green has is a puncher's chance. And to elaborate on a puncher's chance, it's more relevant in boxing, which is why they call it a puncher's chance. But in MMA, it's not nearly as big of a factor because in MMA, there are so many different ways to win. And as long as you're good at implementing your game plan and minimizing your opponents, the puncher's chance can be greatly negated. And I just think Paddy's just too crafty. That is the story of his career. Like, if anything, to ease your mind, I think the hype of the UFC PR machine that they put behind him will outweigh the hype or whatever the powerhouse that is Vegas. I think if you're clashing titans like Vegas and the betting odds versus the UFC PR machine. Dana's going to go tomato red just to make sure that comes out on top for Paddy. But yeah, when he lost to Paddy, that wasn't even in England, and that was, like I said, a very bad decision that a lot of people were very ticked off and still to this day ticked off about. And Paddy won that in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I can't imagine how bad it could potentially be in the heart of Manchester, England, if it goes to decision. So that just makes me even more confident in Paddy. But yeah, I can't definitely take away from the fact that it is concerning that Bobby Green definitely has, as I mentioned in my analysis, been able to pull off some upsets against some younger guys with that amount of hype behind them. But you got to do what you got to do, and it's just too tantalizing to pass up the plus money coming from Paddy, especially when that's a sudden change.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listening and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top, hey. Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.